This is my 2024 Honda Transalp 750. I bought it the day they came out back in October. Sort of my vision for this build was a comfortable long distance riding bike that I could then hit some trails or at least off-road stuff when I got to my destination. There's a lot of mods on this bike and I want to kind of just run you through all of them so that you can get some ideas maybe for your Transalp or really any maybe mid-weight or even full-size adventure bike build that you might be working on. So that's enough preamble. Let's just start at the front and work our way to the back. First and most obvious up front is the Dunlop Trailmax Raid tires. These came out right before I got the bike and I really wanted to try them because I like the idea of a more aggressive tread on what is essentially a very good street tire. The compound of these tires is sort of specially formulated and designed to give excellent wet pavement traction, which is normally the Achilles heel of a more off-road knobby tire. And in my experience, they've done really well. They're very quiet, they handle like a street tire, but reasonable off-road traction in anything but deep mud, just because while there is a big gap here, the knobs aren't very tall and they're not great in the sand from what I've been told. I am actually gonna swap these out because I wanted to do an initial test and I feel like I got it figured out what I wanna do. I'm gonna go with these Tusk Waypoints. These are their 70/30 tire that just came out, so I wanna give those a shot. So the Transalp seems like a good bike to test them on. Also down here, this is the TPMS, the Cyclops TPMS, which I'll show you when we get to the dash. Speaking of Cyclops Aurora auxiliary lights, these are the ones that have the cool halo around the outside for running lights, and then when you turn on the brights, the middle spotlight comes on. They're super bright. Same ones I have on the 300L, so these are great. This is the Hepco and Becker headlight guard, and then up here, this is a Puig windscreen deflector. This is a small. I actually think I should have gotten the medium. This does the job, but I think a little bit wider would have been even better. But it does make a big difference because the buffeting on this is terrible at my height and I'm only 5'10", so it shouldn't be that bad, but it really is. What I like about this versus a taller windscreen is I can do this when I'm riding slow, off-road or whatever, and direct more airflow directly to my chest. So I like that. It's a little tip I stole from Ian. Moving to the bars, these are the Hepco and Becker wraparound handguards. Now these are kind of controversial. They're designed for the European Transalp, and the European Transalp has a plastic handguard. So this just goes around the outside of that plastic handguard. It maintains the lines of the stock design, but gives you a little bit extra protection. I went with these for a couple reasons. One was just they were available. You know, I was already working with Moto Machines. They're very generous in giving me stuff for this build. So I wanted to run these. And two, there's no adjusting them. They're designed specifically for this bike. They just bolt to the handlebar mounts and to the end of the bars. No like bending it in a vise and stuff like you have to do when you buy a generic pair of handguards. Also added the Oxford heated grips. These are great. The OEM heated grips were just not available anywhere, so I went with the old standby, the Oxfords. Didn't do a great job of trimming the edge, but they work well. You don't really notice that when you're riding. And of course, on every bike, double take adventure mirrors because they can take a hit and you know, they just move. You can fold them in when you need to, when you're loading the bike or whatever. And I like to take one of the mirrors off and use it as a mount for my B camera when I'm riding often. So they work well for that. Moving to the cockpit, a couple obvious additions. I've been running the Giant Loop Zigzag handlebar bags on just about every bike lately because it's just a place to put my phone and batteries, sunglasses, earplugs, stuff like that, without running a tank bag so that I can really get leaned forward up over the bars when I need to, when I'm riding. I like that a lot. Quad lock, handlebar mount. This is the wireless charger with the vibration mount. You gotta go with the vibration mount. Right here is the Viridian Cruise. So that's a great addition to this bike and solves one of the biggest issues that people seem to have with it, that being the lack of cruise control. Install is kind of a pain in the ass, but it's a great product and it's really slick once you have it installed. So really like that. And then up here, I waited to make this video until I had a cheap Amazon GPS mount on here and I didn't like it. It was super wobbly. So this is the SW Motec mount. And to be honest with you, it's still pretty wobbly. So it mounts here to the factory dash mounts, and then there's a rubber stopper on the bottom underneath on top here that I think maybe what I need to do is get in here and bend that down so it's a little tighter because it's not even touching. First off, Honda, why the hell does this not have a GPS mount? That would have been a very easy win for you. Two, if you're gonna add one, there's just no good place to mount it. So I think maybe if I had it to do over again, I would put my phone here and just mount the GPS to the handlebars because this is just heavy. This is the Garmin Zumo XT2. It's wired in to the factory accessory switch. So when I turn on the bike, it comes on, works well. Actually, it's awesome so far. While we're in the cockpit, this is the monitor for the Cyclops TPMS, and this is the controller for my heated grips, which I'm not happy with this whole setup. I'm gonna move something eventually. It all just ended up kind of on top of each other when I put this GPS mount on. If you look at the bars, you'll notice no switch to control my auxiliary lights because they're wired in to the factory switch. So when I go high beam here, then the floods come on, and when it's just on running lights, it's just the halo lights. I also added a 12-volt charger with voltmeter here. This is just a generic Amazon charger that I wired into the factory accessory plug underneath. All of that is more complicated than it needs to be because you need a freaking plug with a fuse on it to activate it down inside the, it's stupid. I don't understand the design. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I'm not a Honda engineer, but just know it's not as simple as just plugging that in and having it work, sadly. Well, I said I was gonna work front to back, and I am, but I guess I'm working front to back, and then we'll move down because there's a lot more stuff in between. You probably noticed the seat cover. This is a cool cover. This thing's kind of cool, pun intended. So it keeps you up off the seat so air can flow underneath you. It's supposed to prevent like monkey butt in the summer on the hot days, and also keeps you from sitting in the wet seat in the winter, and it does add a little bit more cushion. So it's kind of a fun thing. I got that at Moto Machines. Works pretty well. And then here, you probably noticed the Skane P3, so it's gonna look funky on the camera, they always do, but basically, Daryl and Brian came and installed this for me. So it has this conspicuity flicker, which makes you just a lot more visible on the road. This is a 100% a safety thing. When I hit the brake, it should flash to indicate, yeah, that I'm stopping, and then it goes bright, right? So that's an additional safety measure, and then turn signals. I've also got turn signals here, as you can see. So the flash rate's gonna be a little funky in the camera, I apologize for that, but that is a huge safety bonus, and I'm super glad it's on a bike that I plan on spending a lot of time on the road on. These are the Hepco and Becker pannier racks that I got from Moto Machines. And I like these because they're the same ones I had on my Tenere and the same ones I had on my Norden. So they're the same size, so I haven't had to move the position of the mounts that are on my Around the World panniers because I just keep getting the same size. Okay, let's work back down to the middle of the bike. So down underneath, you can see here, just barely, that is the upgraded spring that Paul at Evo Suspension put on for me. Now this bike is sprung for my weight, and it's a lot better off-road, a lot less likely to bottom on more aggressive off-road terrain. He did the same in the front, tightened up the springs for me, redid the valving, and we did that in kind of a budget-friendly way instead of just buying a whole new suspension. He just worked with what I already had. It made it a lot better for me personally. So if you have a bike you think you're gonna keep for a long time, I do think it is worthwhile to spend a little money to have the suspension set up for you. The other latest mod that I haven't shown anybody yet is pivot pegs. So I've always wanted to try pivot pegs, and I wanted new pegs for the Transalp, so I ordered these for it. But these move because, you know, they pivot. That's why they're called that. So when you're going uphill, you can lean forward. You're going downhill, you can lean back. It's a little unnerving at first. I didn't think I was going to notice it that much because it doesn't really move that much, but damn, it does. You got a lot wider platform than the stock peg, which is good. And the ability to rotate as you lean forward and back to navigate difficult terrain. So those are fun. I don't have a ton of miles on them yet, so I'm not gonna like come in with a judgment one way or the other, but I'm enjoying them so far. And then probably the most important thing, Hepco and Becker skid plate. Bike doesn't come with a skid plate, so that's pretty important if you're gonna take it off road at all, because the exhaust and the oil sump are pretty vulnerable. And this is the Hepco and Becker upper and lower crash bars. And then these are extra, these covers, they're cool. Mostly they keep mud off the engine and stuff, and will definitely deflect something were I to drop it on the side, but they're optional. They don't come with the crash bars. It's an additional thing. So I like these because they cover the whole fairing. I'm unlikely to break this fairing. I don't like these because I have to take them off or at least loosen them to get this fairing off. And I have to get this fairing off more often than I'd like to do things like change the air filter and put the cruise control in and whatnot. So that's a quick rundown of all the mods currently on the Transalp. Hopefully you got an idea or two there. I'll put links to everything in the description, and those will be affiliate links. So if you want to support the channel, use those links, you click them. If you purchase something, I get a little commission for referring you. You don't pay any extra, everybody wins. And it even works if you say, click on one of those links, go to the site and buy something else. I still get commission on that as long as you buy it within, I think it's a week. It puts a cookie in your browser. So thank you for that support. Thank you for watching the video. And I hope all of you out there on your Transalps are having great adventures or getting ready to have great adventures. But for now, and as always, I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate you, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!